In this episode, we'll be talking all about how to deal with setbacks in your manifestations. So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Katie, and after many years as a struggling single mum, I transformed into a highly successful manifestor with multiple businesses, better relationships, financial abundance, and way more peace, joy, and happiness in my life. Each week, I share the real secrets around how to manifest successfully, as well as the amazing and sometimes crazy lessons I've learned along the way, so that you can apply it all to your own manifesting, transforming your life from the inside out. This is That Manifesting Podcast.
Welcome back to That Manifesting Podcast. It's lovely to have you here. I cannot believe that it's Wednesday again. It feels like 5 minutes since I recorded last week's episode, but here we are again. And finally today, it's a lovely day here in the UK. If you're not British and you're listening to this podcast, then just know, or you may already know, that us Brits, we love to talk about the weather. It's how we start conversations. It's when things feel a bit awkward, we revert to the weather. When we meet new people, we talk about the weather. So here I am talking to you about the weather. It has been horrible here. I look at places in America and other parts of the world, Canada, have beautiful snow, really Christmassy. Here, it feels like it's just been raining for 6 months constantly. There's been some really poor people that have experienced really bad flooding, and it's really sad to see. It's not been the greatest where I live, but luckily nowhere near as bad as some people have had it. But today I woke up, I opened the curtains and I saw the sun, and it just made me smile because although spring is ages away, there was a little part of me that felt like it's slowly coming towards us. Although I've just seen a weather forecast that says we're supposed to be getting horrific snow next week. So I'm thinking I should go and get loads of snacks and pick loads of things on Netflix to watch just in case I can't leave my house. That would be great. And that sort of mindset actually got me thinking, because I've come back to work. If you haven't been following me for very long, you might not know, but as well as being a manifesting mentor, I also have my own marketing company. So I help small businesses with their social media and all of their marketing content. And over Christmas, I decided to take some proper time out, have a proper relax. And as this always happens when I take time off, I rest. I was looking at my 4 Christmas trees, watching the TV, eating beige food, but I was also in the back of my mind starting to have these grand plans for how this year was going to be. And I always do it. I set myself loads of expectations. You know, I'm all of a sudden going to become one of those women that has a washboard stomach that could bounce a ball off them because she exercises so much, and you know she only eats kale and avocado Monday to Friday, and then on a Saturday she pushes the boat out with some wholemeal bread. I always have these grand plans that I'm going to be that girl, and then it comes to New Year and all of a sudden things start to go wrong very quickly most of the time. And I did that with my business, my marketing business. I was thinking about all of these things that I was going to achieve. And within 2 days of being back to work, it was just setback after setback. So I had unexpected client work that came in that took time away from business growth stuff, and certain things took me longer than I wanted them to, and all of a sudden it's felt like it got into my head. Now I'm really, well, I like to think I'm really positive, and I know where I'm at with making my manifestations work, which is why I can teach other people to do it. But that doesn't mean that I don't suffer setbacks, I don't suffer disappointments, and sometimes I do get in my own head just like you might do. So that's what I really wanted to talk about in this episode, was because it's all very good me sharing content about how to manifest, what to do, but that isn't always reflective of what real life is like, because quite often, well, more than quite often, you will get setbacks. I thought I would share some of the setbacks that I've experienced, but also the one big thing that took it to lead to a change, really. What was it that I had to do to be able to successfully deal with setbacks as and when they come up? And I'm actively doing this one thing right now to get myself back on track. Even though it's only the 10th of January, I already seem to have fallen off track with my avocado, kale loving, yoga doing life. So I'm here right with you. So let's talk about some of the setbacks. Hopefully, if anything, it will just give you a bit of entertainment, because some of them are embarrassing, but I'm choosing to share them with you anyway. And the biggest one that I used to do all the time was when I liked a man and he didn't like me back. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, unless you're, I don't know, who's a really pretty girl? I don't know, some really pretty famous woman. Unless you're one of those, then you will have experienced setbacks. You know how you can meet someone and think, in your head, you're propelling yourself forward thinking, I can imagine going on a date with them and perhaps we'll get married and he can put my Christmas trees up the loft for me. He can wash my car. I can imagine him washing my car. That's me. And more often than not, I would be disappointed because people that I would choose didn't choose me back. Now, what I chose to do when people didn't choose me back was I would direct everything back at myself. So I would think, maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I'm not interesting enough. Maybe I don't know. I don't have the right job that he finds interesting, or maybe there's just other people that are better than me. And I would really start to swirl in this cycle of just being really mean to myself because someone chose that they didn't want to go on a date with me. And when I look back at that now, I give myself the ick. On one particular occasion, this guy that I really, really liked, he wanted nothing to do with me. I still don't know why, because I think I'm kind of cool. But anyway, that's by the by. He didn't want to date me. I was so sad. I bought myself a bottle of rosé wine. I bought myself a box of chocolates. I went home and I played on repeat the George Michael song, I Can't Make You Love Me. That is probably the ickiest ick I've ever done to myself, because I was just sitting in my bedroom, drinking wine, eating chocolates, crying at George Michael, and wondering why this guy did not want to date me. Now, looking back, I can see there was probably a reason why he didn't want to date me, and maybe it was just I wasn't his type. That didn't mean there was anything wrong with me. I chose to make it that there was something wrong with me. But my mentor said to me when I had my own manifesting mentor back at the start of my journey, I had this conversation with him and I said, I just don't feel like I can ever meet somebody that also likes me back. And he said, so tell me the thought process. So I went through the thought process, explaining, I just feel so depressed. It must be because I'm not pretty enough. And he said to me something that was so profound. I've never, ever forgotten it. And he said, that's some ego you've got there. And I sort of looked at him and said, what do you mean? And he said, you've chosen to make this mean it's all about you. It's all about you not being pretty enough, being clever enough, having the right job, whatever it is. He said, what if that guy is going through his own stuff and just isn't in the headspace for anybody to be in a relationship with? What if he's going through heartbreak and could think of nothing worse than being in a relationship with you or with anybody? And that really struck home for me, because I realised in that moment that, especially in love, what I had been doing up to that point, time and time again, was making it all about me. Why didn't he want me? Why wasn't I good enough? Why wasn't I pretty enough? Why did he not want to put my bloody Christmas trees up the loft? Why didn't he want to wash my car? But actually, that was a very egotistical way of looking at it. Maybe I was putting out desperate energy. Probably, if I'm sitting listening to George Michael crying at him, then I'm possibly putting out negative energy. But it was a really profound moment for me, because I realised that, yes, I'd been making it all about me, and I hadn't given any room for it to be nothing to do with me. It could have been something that was going on in his life, or it could just be, like the film says, he was just not that into me. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with him. I've been out on dates and not really connected with the person that I'm on the date with. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them at all. It just means that connection wasn't there. So it kind of felt like double standards, because I was expecting every man to see me as like Angelina Jolie or something, whilst I was quite happy to go on dates with people and not find them attractive and expect them to be totally okay when I rejected them. That was a really interesting phase. Nowadays, well, I haven't been on a date for ages because, quite frankly, I've been focusing on other things. But when I do actively get back into that dating life again, when I choose to do that, this is a mindset that I know I have to get back into, of it's not all about me. It's not all about you. It's sometimes about them and what they're dealing with. So that's how I identified that setbacks in my manifestations when it came to love were really down to my own doing. Okay. And another one that I have experienced a lot of setbacks in, as I said at the start, is in business. You know, I haven't had a smooth trajectory, and I don't think any successful business person has. I've had a lot of setbacks, and one of those was right at the start. So I had a really good job in a building society or a bank, and I worked really hard. I had a good salary, but money was really, really tough for me. If you've listened to previous episodes, you'll know my background. I had a lot of debt. There was more going out than there was coming in. And I got made redundant from the job I had. Thankfully, I got a nice payout, a nice influx of cash. And that was what gave me the freedom to set up my marketing company. And that's what I did. But here's the thing. I went from being in an employed role where I understood you get paid the same amount every month, whether you put the same amount of effort in or not. You get given work to do. You never actually have to look at a piece of work and think, how much does that equate to in terms of cost? Just never entered my head. I decided that I wanted to start this business, this marketing company. I wanted to have a go at working for myself. I managed to get a client referral from someone I knew from the bank. I said, oh yeah, my husband is looking for somebody to help with marketing in his company. Let me set you up with a meeting. I was thrilled. I thought, this is Katie winning at life. I'm going to be like Alan Sugar. I'm going to be like Bill Gates. You know, this is it. You know, I haven't even properly started my business yet, and I've already got my first client. It's in the bag. I knew my skills. I knew I could do it. And so I felt really, really positive. I prepared this amazing presentation. I put on my best businesswoman outfit, which was like, it was a jacket and a knee-length skirt and high heels, and I felt really powerful and businesswoman-like. And I rocked up to this meeting, and the presentation went amazingly. I stood there, I was in the flow, I was talking about everything I could do. I could do this for your social media, and I can do this for your copywriting, and all of this stuff I could do for them. And they seemed to be lapping it up. They were loving what I was telling them. And it got to the end, and I said to them, okay, have you got any questions? And the guy turned around to me and said, yes, I have got a very important question. I was like, yep, hit me. And he said, how much is this going to cost? And I looked at him, and in that moment, I realised I hadn't even thought about cost. I had focused my mind as if I was still that employee. So I had thought about what I could do, how I could do it, when I could do it by, all of the things I'd need from them, all of the things I'd provide. I'd gone to all that detail, but that employee mindset had meant that thinking about what to charge them hadn't even come into my head. So I sat there like a bit of an idiot and just kind of fluffed my way through it. And I think they knew I fluffed my way through it because I said, well, it depends what you want. It depends what package you want. If you let me know exactly what you want, I'll then go away and cost it. Needless to say, although I smashed it in terms of the presentation, I did not win the client. I came away, I never heard from them again. I didn't even get a rejection email because I think it just was written all over my face that I had no idea what to charge and I hadn't even thought about it. And that was the first huge setback that I had in my business because I hadn't let go of that employee mindset and embraced a business owner mindset. I was thinking about things from an employee perspective and I wasn't thinking about them from a business owner perspective. So yeah, that's one, I mean, gosh, I could sit here for maybe 10 days and tell you about all the other business setbacks I've had. Thankfully, my business has continued to grow. And when I come on to the one thing to do to overcome setbacks, you'll see why that is. But yeah, I've had more than my fair share of business setbacks. This episode, I feel like I'm just telling you how crap I am at certain things. But do you know what? No one's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. I spectacularly cock up all the time. And I'm happy to share that with you because I feel like we're a little community and I trust you with my failures. My clients have to trust me with their failures, so I'm choosing to trust you. And yeah, so that with the business, that's how I started to be successful. But that leads me on to another setback that I had. One of my this is an epic one. This is one that I'm probably most proud of in a bad sense. Oh, actually, no, I'd say the George Michael one, crying at George Michael whilst eating chocolates and drinking rosé wine. No, that's probably my most spectacular one. This is one that people find amusing. When I started getting into my manifesting, I decided that I wanted to manifest more money. Okay. As I said, had a good job. I had lots of debt, which I managed to clear, started the business. Things were going well. Money was okay. I was manifesting the outcomes that I wanted more often than not. And I thought, do you know what I'd really like? I'd really like a big influx of money again because the money that I'd received from my old job when they let me go was kind of dwindling down. So I thought, yeah, I could do with a bit of an influx of more money. Well, I decided that what I wanted to do was win the lottery. That was how I decided that my money was going to come to me. I did all the things I was supposed to do to manifest the lottery win. I thought about it. I bought a lottery ticket. The amount of people that say they want to win the lottery but never actually buy a lottery ticket is beyond me. But I did actually buy a lottery ticket, and I was thinking about it all the time. I so believed that I was going to win the lottery. And that's, it became my mantra. I'm going to win. I'm winning the lottery. The lottery win is on its way. That's what I kept focusing on. And I think it was about 3 weeks later, I won the lottery. I actually had my lottery win. I woke up on the Sunday morning, so the lottery takes place on a Saturday night. I woke up on the Sunday morning. I opened my email because I was signed up to the app, so it would email me if I'd had a win. And I opened my email inbox, and there at the top, sent at about 3 o'clock in the morning, was an email from the National Lottery saying, "You have won." Well, I didn't know whether to puke. I didn't know whether to cry. I didn't know whether to laugh. I just thought, this is it. This is it. I have manifested what I set out to do, which was to win the lottery. I couldn't quite believe it. I opened the email and it said, head to the app and you'll get more details. So my hands were shaking. I still felt sick. I was hugging Bumble, my dog, to the point where she couldn't breathe because I was thinking, this is it, this is it. I opened the app. I went to the section that said, it said, yep, you've had a win. And I'd won the grand total of £1. My lottery win was £1. Let that sink in for a moment. I had literally just nearly puked in my own bed, suffocated my dog to death, hysterically laughing, all for £1. And to say I was disappointed was an understatement, because by that time I'd already looked at, okay, I could go to the bank and pay off my mortgage, and I can do this, and I'm going to buy my mum a house, and I'm going to buy my sister a house, like Oprah, like you get a house and you get a house and you get a house. And to know that it was £1, my only saving grace was that I didn't tell anybody before I opened the app. Thank God. Can you imagine if I had oh gosh, even the thought of it gives me it makes me feel all shuddery and funny. Imagine telling everybody that you'd won the lottery and then having to message them all back and say it was £1. So yeah, that was my huge lottery win. And of course I was disappointed, because what it told me was that my manifestation had actually worked, because all I had been speaking about was winning the lottery. I hadn't specified that it was going to be a big windfall. I just said I was going to win the lottery, and of course I won the lottery. So my manifestation actually worked, but it was a huge setback because it wasn't what I expected. Now, all of those stories might feel a bit random, but there is a method to why I'm sharing them, because the thing that links all of those three things together, like not being chosen by the man and crying at George Michael, my business setback, my £1 lottery win, all of those were setbacks because my core identity wasn't aligned to the outcome that I wanted. A big part of what I teach my clients is you have to have the right identity. Who you are has to align with what you want. Okay, if we look at those stories that I gave you, we'll start to see that the person I was back then wasn't aligned to the outcome that I wanted. So someone not choosing me, the outcome, the identity that I should have had at that time was around being confident no matter what. I knew my worth. If people didn't want to be with me, then that was absolutely fine, because it was more about them than it was about me. If there was anything that wasn't quite right in my personality or the way I showed up on dates, I would identify that and I would change it. That was the identity of somebody who would be successfully dating. But actually what I was putting out, I guess, was that air of desperation. That was my identity. I need you to like me. I need you to validate me as a person. That was the identity that I was showing up as. So all I was going to manifest was more of those sorts of dates where the person wasn't going to connect with me. It was like a never-ending circle. all I would manifest was more people that wouldn't validate me, because that was what I was putting out. That was the identity of the person that was showing up on these dates. You know, when my business didn't do as well as I'd hoped, I was showing up in that first meeting with that first ever client. I showed up with the identity of an employee, not as a business owner. And when I had that identity of the employee, that meant I was taking actions and thinking thoughts as an employee, not as a business owner. So I wasn't going to be able to achieve the outcome that I wanted for my manifestation, because I wasn't showing up as the business owner. I was showing up as the employee. Something had to shift to have made me successful. And that's exactly what happened. I'll go on to how we do that in a bit. But again, the £1 lottery win, I know looking back that although I started planning how I would spend my massive £1 million lottery win, my identity was still that of somebody who was desperate for money, somebody that didn't really believe that I would ever get that sort of money. Looking back, subconsciously, I limited what I thought I could manifest, and that's why I ended up with £1, because yes, I won the lottery, but it was aligned to the identity of who I was at that time, which was struggling for money, in debt, finding it hard to make ends meet. So the outcome had to match the identity, and that's exactly what it did. It's important for me to say, if any of this sort of resonates and you're thinking, yeah, I can see that actually maybe my identity now isn't aligned to what I want to manifest, I want to make it super clear that it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you at all. If you want to stay where you are right now, then just continue as the person that you are right now. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But if you do want to up-level your life and change things in your life, it has to start with your identity. You have to be able to pinpoint who is the person that has what I want. So for me with business, I had to sit down and think, who is the person that has a booked out schedule of clients? How did they show up in the world? What do they believe about themselves? What do they believe about their business? What are their regular habits? What are their patterns of behaviour? What are the thoughts that they think? What are the actions that they take? And then you start showing up as that person right now. That is how you move into closer alignment, get past the setbacks, and move into the successful manifestations that you want. And that's what I had to do. As I said, I haven't dated for quite a long time now, just purely because it's what I chose to do. But I have actively got a new mindset. If I talk to somebody and they don't ask me out, then I'm fine with that. It's absolutely fine, because I show up as the person that's already in a successful relationship. I'm comfortable with myself. I'm confident in myself. When it comes to business, every single day I have to reevaluate my identity. Am I showing up as the business owner who has what I want in the future? Am I showing up as that person now? Am I making the right decisions? Am I taking the right actions? Am I focusing on the right things? That determines how I move through life. And my £1 lottery win, I decided not to try and go for a lottery win, because there are actually so many other ways that you can make massive amounts of money. And once I did that, then things started to shift, because again, I shifted my identity to believing that money can come to me from all different sources and it can flow freely and easily to me. I don't have to rely on a lottery win. I can get it through my business. I can get it through other competitions and windfalls and unexpected payouts. They can all come to me. I evolved my identity to that of somebody who was successful in what I wanted. Okay. And that was really what I wanted to share with you today, was the power of identity. it can be hard because you can feel like you're constantly battling against a future version of you that feels so far away. But often it starts with just little steps, little changes, little habits. I read a book and it's amazing. It's called Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, read it, because it's truly phenomenal. If you want to start changing things, that's how to do it. I talk a lot about identity in the work that I do with my clients. If you want to know any more, DM me. I say it every week. You can find me at The Manifesting Mindset on all social media channels, and let's have a chat. But whatever you do, whatever you want, if you suffer a setback, don't take it personally. Just look at it as an opportunity to reflect on the identity that you've been showing up as and see how you can adapt that to be more in alignment with the person who has what you want in the future.
So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've enjoyed listening, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe and leave a review, because it really does help me to reach more people. I've left some links in the show notes so you can connect with me, or you can grab one of my manifesting resources. Until next week, sending you lots of love, light, and manifesting vibes.